Hello everyone, my name is Jack Whitney and welcome to my One Big Idea project for AP Psychology. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about the current state of our school's lunch as well as the psychological implications that come along with it. Before I begin, I'd like to first say that we should all be extremely thankful for the opportunity to have free food every day in school, and we should realize that we are blessed to have what we have here at Lake Oswego High School. This presentation is not a complaint, it is simply a summary of data gathered from the LOHS student body in an effort to increase student performance as well as decrease the school's food waste. So what makes a good school lunch? First off, you need healthy foods that meet our needs for protein, grains, dairy, fruits, and vegetables. You also need food that tastes good, and you need large enough portions to satisfy students' hunger. Here are some examples of what I would call good school lunches. They are visually appealing, healthy, correctly portioned, and overall just much more enticing than most school lunches in today's day and age. And I'm not saying that we need to match these lunches, but later on in the presentation you'll see that there's a clear difference in these meals compared to what we are served. So there are psychological reasons behind why certain foods taste good, and part of that is because flavor results from the combination of multiple sensory inputs such as taste, sight, sound, smells, and textures, and it's also affected by memories, social cues, and hardwired instincts. So lunches that fall in line with what our bodies expect will be perceived as biologically safer since we're more familiar with them, and they will then taste better to us. So here are some examples of the lunch we have here at Lake Oswego High School. I'm sure we're all familiar with these, but I wanted to put up some examples for comparison's sake. Unfortunately, I'm too scared to try most of these dishes, but student reviews are included later on in the presentation. I can say that the chicken sandwich is my personal favorite because it is at the least consistent, and the burgers aren't bad either. The pizza, on the other hand, is a step down from what we had pre-pandemic. And one interesting thing is that if you look closely, you can see that the 2 cups of beans on the right-hand side look completely different, and that isn't very significant, but it's not ideal in terms of food appeal. Another one of my favorites is the Uncrustable. PB&J is often a safer option than risking taking whatever is out, and when they aren't frozen solid, they aren't half bad either. And they aren't terrible in terms of nutrition, but they do have more sugar and saturated fat than a regular PB&J would, while also having less calories, calcium, and iron, which are all things that could help a student focus better in the classroom. So I decided to do a survey for this project because I wanted to give the student body a chance to voice their opinions on the school lunch, and I ended up gathering 86 responses, 57% of which ate the school lunch on a regular basis, and the survey was taken by all kinds of students throughout the school. So from the students who responded that they do not eat the school lunch, 54% said they like bringing their own food, while 35% said they'd rather go hungry than eat the school lunch. And an interesting fact is that 22% of these respondents who attended LOHS pre-pandemic used to eat the school lunch before they changed it. Of the students who choose to eat the school lunch, 43% don't like the school food, but since it's free, they take it. 23% don't have enough time in the morning to make their own. 14% don't mind the food the school serves. 10% have no other options for eating at school, and 2% said they like the food the school serves. Here's a graph of what the students think of the school food. It's on a scale of 1 to 10, and the mean rating was a 3.57 out of 10, while the mode was a 3 out of 10. So definitely room for improvement. So the students don't like the food very much, but does it at least get the job done? Well, apparently not, because around 92% of the students who responded to my survey said that they could eat more food during lunch. So that last statistic is pretty interesting when you take a look at this slide, because if 92% of people say they could eat more, that means we shouldn't have that much waste. But it turns out that 81% of the respondents said that they throw out more than 10% of their food that they take because they won't eat it, and 47% said that they throw out more than 30% because they won't eat it. Now on to some opinions from the community. I would read through these, but there's a lot, so I'm just going to let them play for a second. So people clearly have some pretty strong opinions on the school lunch, but let's take a look at what's wrong with it on the psychological level. So it has some issues in all of the categories in terms of senses, but I believe that the most important ones to improve on would be taste, sight, and touch, because the food we have here is pretty bland in terms of colors and variety while you're eating it. I think we all know how hard it is to think properly when you feel hungry, but some interesting facts to consider are that the brain uses between 20% and 30% of the body's overall energy intake, and when the brain is starved of what it needs, problems like fatigue, brain fog, and even depression can take place. And students who are hungry are often unable to focus, have lower attention spans, and tend to have behavioral issues that can result in disciplinary issues. And not having a good lunch to look forward to can decrease student morale and result in overall lower performance. And here are my final thoughts and opinions moving forward into next school year. I think we should do something like having the ability to pay for better pizza, just so that people who want a slightly better lunch can pay a small fee and get what they want, while people who like the free lunch can also have that. And then that could lead into more options available for paying. And we also need more inclusivity for people with different eating tendencies, such as vegetarians or people who are gluten free. We should also have more snacks available for purchase just to fill in whatever gaps lunch might create. And we should keep track of people's preferences on the school food in order to minimize waste by not having things that people don't like. And better food will result in better student performance at LOHS, as well as a multitude of other things that are all positive.